We are back. Season 2 of Sock Talk. Football is right around the corner. We are mere days away from seeing NFL football that matters.
It's a crazy time. I feel like the offseason kind of flew by. We're here. We're going to get back to our normal format. So, one thing we're going to change about the format is no intros. We're just going to head right into power rankings with Adam.
Yeah, so first power rankings of the year. We had the early ones and the post-draft ones, but this is the first of the season one. Gonna start in the 12 spot at the bottom, like we always do. With with Steve. Steve's gonna come in at the bottom. Steve, not great. He's kind of held.
It's a team.
He's held this spot the whole off season, throughout the whole off season. He has a lot of okay players.
Yeah.
Which, like, sure, could an A.J. Dillon, Jerick McKinnon, Christian Kirk, Tyler Boyd, all these guys have spots on a team, but it's more of like you want them in your flex or maybe wide receiver 3 or something, not as basically filling out your whole lineup. I don't think he's going to win a lot of games, but I guess I could see him winning a few, because kind of feels like he'll be consistently bad, if that makes sense. Like, I could see him scoring right around 100 a lot, sometimes right below, like in the 90s. Just doesn't have a lot of the players that could really boom. Maybe a McKinnon if the Chiefs go off, or Christian Kirk if he's the number one there or something. But feels like he might get a lot of 8 to 10 point performances here, not a lot else. Finish around 100, and if he runs up to someone having a bad week, could sneak out a win. But I don't think he's really going to be a main guy this year.
Yeah, I do have to agree. I am interested to see how the Bills use Dalton Kincaid, that is the starting tight end. I know that he could maybe be sometimes like a big slot receiver.
Yeah.
So that will be interesting to see. Like, maybe he found a stud in the draft there, but a lot of the guys on Steve's team don't really move me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not being like, oh man, that two-headed monster of A.J. Dillon and Jerick McKinnon is something to look out for. It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a lot of... Yeah, okay. Okay. This was a redraft team. It's like you're taking all these guys around like 5, 6, like the earliest 5 for like a Christian Kirk maybe, and a lot of these it's like around 9.
I think I got Jerick McKinnon in like one of the last rounds of a draft I did.
Yeah. So.
Which I don't hate Jerick McKinnon, especially because we are a PPR league and he is like the receiving back there, with Pacheco being the main running back. But I do think that McKinnon is kind of touchdown dependent.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the point here of his team. I like a lot of these players, but not as like a main piece.
Yeah,
again, if I'm drafting these guys round 13 in best ball, it's like, okay, sure, I'll take them. If you're having them as like a bye-week filler, it's like, love A.J. Dillon or like a Tyler Boyd as a... I think I just messed up the thing.
Every episode is these damn cats.
Cat just ran through the wire, messed up the phone a little bit, but we're going to keep going.
Stay strong.
But yeah, his team just feels like a lot of good depth, bye-week guys, not great. My wide receiver 1. Next, coming at the 11th spot, we have Matt.
Happens to be Steve's opponent.
Yeah, it does. So one will be in the 12th spot next week. Almost guarantees.
Unless they tie.
Unless they tie, or...
they just share 12.
Both put up 190, and someone else doesn't. But, yeah. I think Garrett Wilson could be in for a huge year.
Absolutely.
Looks to be kind of Rodgers' guy so far. might not be exactly Devonte Adams, but like similar in that get peppered with targets and put up a ton of points. And it's Matt having like a true, consistent like stud that helps fantasy teams a ton. Just having someone go out there and it's like this guy will probably get me 18 to at the high end like 30 points. It's like the 30 points is half of Matt's points for like the past 3 seasons, and you're getting that all from one player. And I also think the team around that stud looks better for Matt than it has in a lot of these past years too. I think there's some kind of like emerging RBs. We're going to see Khalil Herbert in the starting role. We're going to see James Cook with some less competition there in Buffalo. We're going to see how the rookie Zach Charbonnet does. So, again, not guys I'm super confident in, but they're guys that could show in these opportunities that they have now and have a decent season. And then I just think kind of the rest of the team, it's kind of the same of will Jackson Smith-Njigba break out and have a huge year? Will he just kind of have a average rookie year? Same thing with like a lot of these other rookies and young guys he kind of has on his team.
Yeah, with Matt, I think I definitely agree he's 11. But I think, I don't know how to say, like more like a higher end 11 where it's like he's going to start out. But as the year goes on, I expect this team to like perform a lot better, maybe even get a few wins that before the season we were like, oh, no way that he wins that one. Like, obviously the guys stay healthy is one of the biggest things, but it could be what we've seen with like my team last year, Zach, the year after his like kind of big tank, where it's like, okay, he starts out and it's like, oh, like New Year's, same Matt, but then towards the end it's like, okay, well he's like broken 110 like 3 straight weeks now. Maybe he lost one of those games he was playing like a Trevor who put up like 160. It's like still a good showing.
Yeah, I was also going to kind of relate him to that Zach team, but kind of like a budget version. I don't think it's as talented as that Zach team was. Like, I don't think the rookies are as high profile as what Zach had, but that he's kind of like emerging onto the scene, taking big steps up from where he has been, and probably not going to be consistent enough throughout the year to make the playoffs, but consistent enough to actually get some wins and be interested watching your fantasy matchup, which probably didn't have for a few years now.
Yeah.
Then in the 10 spot, we have you.
I should be at least 4.
It's another kind of interesting team. We have obviously like the stud in Hurts, who was like a huge game changer for your team last year and helped you win a ton of games. Just the possibility of him putting up 30 plus any week with the rushing and passing upside, huge advantage at the QB position. Then we look at the rest of the team, and again, it's a lot of question marks. Kind of what's the Breece Hall role? We've talked about that before. Kind of what is like the Rams? Are they just tanking? Don't know what's going on there. So kind of like how's Akers going to do? Gabe Davis has been a roller coaster for the past few years of caught 5 touchdowns to then scored 1 point for 3 straight weeks to then 36 points this week to then like a few okay weeks at like 9. Where's he going to end up this year? Kind of what's his role? Does Kadarius Toney stay healthy for more than like 7 plays in a row? Could be good upside there. Same thing with some of these Zay Flowers, Rondell Moore. There's just so much questions, and it's hard to really rank this without kind of seeing where they are. And I feel like we're going to have a lot better idea of your team come week 3, week 4, where we kind of see the roles of these guys, where it's like, yeah, maybe you could jump up a few spots and win a few games with some of these guys stepping up, or you might be here at the bottom the whole year if things go south.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I kind of have come to terms with the fact that Breece Hall, first couple weeks, probably going to be a little touchdown dependent. I don't think he's going to get a workload like he was seeing last year before his injury. That being said, I think he's going to maybe even be like my team, get better as the season goes on. The more he steps away from that injury. They did say he is going to play, but they are going to be smart with him, so that's what I'm saying. Maybe the first couple weeks, Just got to hope that he finds one in the end zone, maybe catches a couple. And with Kadarius Toney, that is the biggest one because I did say he is playing this coming Thursday. And against Detroit, which isn't a fantastic defense.
Yeah.
How many snaps, though?
Kadarius Toney could have a 30-point week for you, and I wouldn't be surprised. He could play 3 snaps, and I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
I know that Andy Reid has been planning a lot around him. It just really depends on if he plays there.
Yeah. So I think your team is a big wait and see, and probably the biggest wait and see of any team in the league.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of question marks that, like you said, they'll probably have a better feel about my team week 3 or 4.
Yeah, see an idea of what the roles are for a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
Then at the number 9 spot, we have Cherry. He's has a few possible studs. Obviously, like Bijan could finish as RB3, RB1 even. Like, he could have a huge year. Calvin Ridley's been getting a ton of hype coming out of the camp. They said he looks basically just where he left off, which was a wide receiver 1. So it's like there's huge upside there for both of those guys. But it's again his team, similar to yours, of kind of some wait and see, but I think it's a little bit more set in stone. Like, Kenneth Walker is going to get carries there. How much does Charbonnet eat into his role, I think, is a question. Same thing, like Rachaad White's going to be the RB1 there, at least to start the season, but does he get 80% of the carries, or is it like a 60-40 split? And also, how good is he going to be in it? Gibson in this new offense with Bieniemy, I think, is a nice upgrade compared to Ron Rivera's offense. But still, how does he get used? He's been in the doghouse. He's been the best player ever. It's so much up and down. But I think he does have some decent bench options, too. I think Nico Collins probably the wide receiver 1 in the Texans. Don't know how much that's going to mean, but still going to be there. And then same thing with like Rashad Bateman. I think another really decent option, but I'm not super confident in this team as a whole, but feels like they could definitely win a handful of games and be competitive, but I also don't know if competitive enough to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. I do think the biggest question marks, I know Calvin Ridley's looked good, but
hasn't played in 2 years.
Yeah, hasn't played in 2 years. We have to see him at the NFL level. And Sky Moore, I know they said the Chiefs were starting to trust him a little more, kind of like Kadarius Toney. That being said, I don't know if he goes from nobody to the focal point of the offense in one offseason.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that the projection Sleeper has is a tiny bit high. Calvin really could get 14, but it depends. Like, does Trevor Lawrence have the same connection with him as Kirk, some guy that he's already thrown to?
Yeah.
In a sense of that. But I do think that Cherry could have a very boom or bust year in general.
Yeah. If he snuck into the playoffs, I could see it. If he's also, again, like a bottom 3 team, could also see that too. Next, in the 8 hole, we have James. He's got an interesting team. I think he has a solid mix of kind of some young, emerging guys and also some kind of like vets that you kind of know what you're going to get. He has like Madison now in a new role. What will he be? Pierce is another young guy, but then he does have kind of like the proven guys, and Dalvin Cook, who is talented, will have a role. Debo, like, he's going to have a role, maybe not as big as that wide receiver 3 he finished as 2 years ago now, or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But he's going to be consistent, and then it's like, where does Drake London, where does George Pickens end up? And if you even look at his bench, it's like he has Dalvin there right now, has Odell, who should probably have some role. Has McCole Hardman, who will probably get something on the Jets. They don't have a super deep. Isaiah Hodgins, will he continue kind of the magic he had last year? And that could definitely help get some wins in some of these tough bye weeks. It'll be picking the right starter a lot. Does he set the right lineup? But I think he's one of the most consistent teams in this league. One of the best, like, every year he's been in the playoffs. So I feel like he could miss it this year, but I also feel like it's hard to bet against his track record of getting there every year.
Absolutely. I think his receiver core of Debo, Drake London, George Pickens is a very slept on group. It's obviously doesn't have the huge names like even his opponent has.
Yeah.
But I think Pickens has been one of my brightest spots of the offseason. I think for everything that I've seen, he's looked really good. Drake London, just stop fumbling the ball unless you're playing Carolina. So maybe week 1 fumble a little bit. And I had Debo twice, so I do like him.
Yeah.
And yeah, so overall, I think that James is at this point a fringe playoff. Maybe this is the first one where it's okay, James definitely has a chance to make the playoffs. Or maybe with me, Cherry, Matt, and Steve, it's okay, a lot of things got to go right for them.
Yeah.
I think that James can sneak in. It's more of a fact of will he.
Yeah. Right above him at the 7 spot, I have myself. I'm really only confident in my RB room with Saquon and Stevenson. Stevenson obviously was Zeke. Might not get as much, but there was people there last year. I think both of them will have good season. Saquon probably somewhere in the RB, a top 10 RB finish. Stevenson probably around that top 15 range. But then I'm relying on a lot of unknown and unproven rookies and guys kind of coming off injuries to fill out the rest of the team. Michael Thomas, can he stay healthy? Traylon Burks, are the Titans going to pass, and is he going to be healthy? Kyle Pitts.
Are the Falcons going to pass?
Are they going to pass and be healthy? Then we got the rookies, Addison, Quentin Johnston, kind of. It's tough to trust. I think I'm kind of in the same boat as you. Is you got to kind of see what these people's roles are before you make a decision either way. If Addison steps right into what Thielen was 3 years ago, getting over 100 targets and being a wide receiver too, it's that makes my team look a lot stronger. If he's struggling to earn targets and Quentin Johnston's not playing and Michael Thomas is hurt, it's this team might not have what it takes to get to the playoffs. So it's a lot of moving pieces going on here. People off injuries, young guys, hard to trust and really get a good grip on what it's going to be.
Absolutely, yeah. I can't agree with you. I obviously am a Saints hater, so I think that Michael Thomas might give you 3 or 4 solid quarters.
Yeah. 2 games.
3 quarters split up over 2 games maybe. And then Kyle Pitts as a Falcons hater. I think Pitts is cool, but
read something today that they think he's going to be 4th on the team in targets. Don't know who would be number 3.
Drake London.
Well, he'd be 1, I'm assuming.
Bajan. Cordero Patterson.
Sure. Give 34-year-old Cordero more targets. I don't know.
I mean, you got to think how often they be throwing screen passes and swings and checkdowns.
I don't know. It's interesting.
I guess we'll see week 1 against Carolina. How can that backfire on me? I do like Jordan Addison. I think he has a very good landing spot. And obviously, I'm a former DJ Moore guy. He's in Chicago now. It makes me sad. Remember that first play of the preseason? I was you had to do it.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I think that is another fair spot, another fringe team with a little bit more questions than answers at the moment.
Yeah. In the 6th spot, I just changed this right now. Move 5 up, move 6 down. I'm going to go with Jasmus in the 6 hole. Undefeated last year, but I don't know about this year. The major concern here is Cooper Kupp, Terry McLaurin. Terry still not practicing with a toe injury. Don't think it's super serious, but if he misses week 1, week 2, first few weeks, a little bit of a concern, and then dealing with that toe throughout the rest of the season, a concern. And also looking at Cooper Kupp, he's going to a specialist now to see how he pulled his hamstring twice in one summer. The Rams look like they're just going to call it quits. They have their first this year, so it's like maybe they go get Caleb.
Maybe.
Will they kind of just shut him down for a good part of the season if things aren't looking good, especially if he misses? I've heard, yeah, he could be there week 1. He could also miss 6 weeks in the beginning of the year, and people wouldn't be surprised. Plus, older receiver, 30, 31, dealing with a hamstring injury. Look at what happened to Keenan last year. Played 2 and then missed like 8 weeks. Came back, played a week, missed like 3 more, and then was good towards the end of the season. I don't know if Jasmus's team survives Cooper Kupp missing 8 weeks.
Yeah, via 3 minutes ago, McVay just said that Kupp is still considered day to day. So maybe that's positive. Maybe.
They said he's still in Minnesota seeing a specialist.
Well, do they play Minnesota week 1? They
No.
don't.
But I don't know. I think there's serious concern there. Even if he does play, is he playing not at 100%? I also saw something they want them at 100%, not just like good enough to play. I think there's serious concern there. But then you look at the rest of his team. Amari, I think, should have a good season. The RBs with Eckler and Najee, I think, are going to be in for a good year too. James Conner is going to get a ton of volume there. Pacheco's going to get carries there and
I think he
should be
rusher at the moment.
Yeah, should be in line to get some of those touchdowns. But then you look at his bench, and I am not moved.
No.
Foreman maybe getting something. Allen Robinson or Zay Jones, like, he's got A-Chain on the taxi, so maybe he has something going on, but
Rocky, what do you think about this bench?
it's not great. And then if you're missing Cooper Kupp for a handful of weeks in the beginning of the season, who do you have to go in and replace that? And that's, I think, where the big concern comes in. And even if you just are screwed for your first 4 weeks, it's like that's a huge hit to a team. Starting off like a 1-3, it's hard to come back from.
Absolutely, yeah. I do like the strategy of having 2 Browns tight ends. That's interesting, along with Amari Cooper. Did Jarvis Landry retire, or is he still...
Yeah, he's just not signed.
Yeah, and I don't know how good Allen Robinson is. I kind of agree with you. I think the team is solid with Kupp.
Yeah, I think if he has that whole starting lineup all year, he's top 3 team.
Absolutely.
Like, very consistent, very good. You saw what he could do last year. Just things are already starting to break down for him. Could really mess him up.
Yeah, and that bench is kind of yucky. Even Rocky agreed he had to go away. He's like,
Yuck.
yuck. P.U.
Then in the 5 spot, who I just moved ahead of him, I have Evan. I think Evan's team is very solid. Darren Waller, obviously, has had one of the best camps that I've been hearing about the whole time. Should be lead receiver there. Should be in for a huge year. Having that at the tight end position is huge. I think there's a little bit of kind of inexperience in the RB room. Gibbs obviously being a rookie, but they're saying they're going to use him, line him up everywhere, get him snaps, get him targets, get him touches. Dobbins, another guy that it's like Yeah, he's played. Not a rookie by any means, but missed the season. Was kind of hobbled last season. Kind of where's he going to end up this year? Miles Sanders, I think, is going to be a little bit more consistent there. But I'm not. I think the RB room's going to be good, but it's just early to see.
Yeah.
And then if you look at the receivers, like solid all the way through, kind of these like wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 options. And he even has some decent options on the bench. Just one thing, again, I'm worried about. Jerry Jeudy, same thing. Hamstrings suck, especially for receivers. They tend to nag. They tend to come back. I think Judy's already had a hamstring injury before. Like, they said it's moderate. How will he miss time? If so, how much? If so, how will he be when he comes back from it? If he's fine and takes over there, just helps this team even more. But I think that's kind of where I see a little bit of concern.
Yeah, I love the receiver room. The only question that I kind of have is with Hopkins, Tennessee, and throwing the ball. But it's still DeAndre Hopkins. I think when you have him, you get the ball to him.
Yeah.
At least that's my take on it. And I do like Gibbs. Dobbins, I'm a little more on. Kind of same thing with Michael Thomas. Is how many quarters is he going to play this year?
Yeah, I think he had like 8 games last year, but I don't know.
I guess that's like 8 times as many he played the previous 2, but
yeah.
And I still think Mike Williams can be productive.
Yeah.
For the Chargers.
Yeah.
So overall, yeah, I could see why you would move Evan above Jasmus.
4, I got Griff. I think his teams had a really good free agency and off season, and I thought he's also made some good moves to get better without really doing anything blockbuster. Add Swift, I think, gives him a lot of help in the RB room. Obviously, Swift isn't super consistent with the injury past and how he was kind of going to be on a new team, but it's better than kind of what he had there. Also, looking at some other guys that got boosts. Pollard, no one else went to Dallas. People thought someone was going to sign there. I guess it could still happen, but no. Miami, everybody thought someone was going to sign there. Raheem Mostert still lives. Plus, now Jeff Wilson got hurt, so that helps him even more. You look at the Saints backfield. Kamara only suspended like 3 games. Could have been a lot worse. Plus, rookie Kendra Miller's kind of been banged up and missing time, so they're probably going to lean on Jamal Williams even more. I think his RB room got a ton better just by kind of surviving in free agency. And then you just look at the receiver room of Jefferson, Amon-Ra, and Godwin. Godwin also might be alone there soon if they end up moving Mike Evans, not signing the extension, which has been rumored. So, great receiver room, improved RB room, Andrews at tight end, and Josh Allen at QB. I like this team. I think they've gotten... They look a lot better in my eyes than they did at the start of this offseason with not making a ton of moves.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you there. I think that Ayuk might be a better fantasy ass than Debo, which is maybe surprising out of my mouth because I'm a big Debo guy. Even Shadow or Rocky agrees, or one that was. And the receiving core outside of Godwin, I feel like he's kind of in the same boat as like the Lockett DK, where it's like one of them's going to have a decent week, the other one's not. Last I think it was more likely than not Godwin, so who knows, maybe. And Amon-Ra and Justin Jefferson. I don't think there's much more that I can say about them that I haven't already said.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that Griffin definitely has a good chance of making the playoffs and being kind of back where he was last year, fighting for the division title.
Yeah.
The only big concern is, like, okay, how does Kamara do when he comes back?
Yeah, kind of will the Saints backfield.
Is Jamal Williams still, like, the number 1 vulture in the league? Stuff like that.
Yeah. And then I think, too, I think his depth looks a little bit better just all around, where I think that was one of the main concerns kind of last year of, like, yeah, he's got some good guys, but then you look at the flex, too, on the bench, it's like, and now I feel he has a lot better chance to kind of survive buys, get through a few injuries, and keep going strong. We also have in the 3 spot, we have Zach.
Run the former champion.
Yeah. Will Zach be able to run it back? I think he has the talent to do so.
Absolutely, yeah. Between his entire team and I don't think Zach changed a ton. I'll say that.
No, I think he kind of kept the same team. They added Jaden Reed, but not much else has happened. Again, I think the main concern is they're getting older. Some injuries kind of already happening. What's going on with George Kittle? He's had an undisclosed injury for like weeks now. What's going on there? Same thing with like that whole Evans possibly being traded. It's just some already questions kind of appearing.
Yeah. I think you take a look at the bench. I don't hate the depth at running back, receiver. You're kind of throwing a guy in there and being like, okay, let's hope he can get like 8 points. Where, and he does have Deion Jackson now, who I believe that Cole said is going to be starting week 1 for them.
Yeah, I think so. So, has some depth. Just, will he have all the pieces kind of fall right together to then be healthy at the right time and win a championship? Number 2, Trevor. Trevor is good.
Yeah.
Very good. The only thing that hurts is the whole Taylor situation. Jonathan Taylor out at least 4 weeks. Then will he get traded? Will he keep sitting out? Will he then go back and play for the Colts? Kind of what's going to happen there. I think it's interesting that him losing Taylor doesn't really hurt him that much. I think that's a testament to how good this team is. You still look at the starting lineup, and it's, where would Taylor even really fit in here? But
I think the biggest thing is that the Jacobs drama ended.
Yeah.
I think if Trevor was going to be missing both Jacobs and Taylor, we'd maybe have some more question marks.
Yeah.
Like, is Ezekiel Elliott, the RB2, a good thing?
Yeah. I still think that, the RB depth now doesn't look as good without Taylor. If a Chubb injury happens, if a Jacobs injury happens, and he has to rely on Zeke, Jerome Ford, Kyrie, don't love that, but he's got the depth at wide receiver with a Pittman, Puka, who's had a really good camp too, and I think he can survive a few injuries, but getting Taylor back would kind of put the nail in the coffin on, this team is a playoff lock, essentially.
Yeah.
And then number 1, Ethan. I think he got a good boost with Javonte already being cleared and already kind of looking good. I think Sean Tucker in the RB2 role gonna help there, just continues to give him depth. If Kupp misses time, Van Jefferson, another guy, even if he doesn't, is probably going to be the wide receiver 2 there. Just more options for this. And all the players I just listed are all bench guys.
Yeah.
All these guys got good boosts, look solid, and are on his bench. Then you get to the starting lineup, and it's also loaded. 2 great RBs, 5 really strong receivers, the best tight end, and Trevor Lawrence, who's really good QB. The starting lineup's great, and I think he has a ton of depth options. Few injuries happen, should be able to survive it. He's got depth at every position, including tight end. It's another team where essentially looking like a playoff lock.
Absolutely, yeah. I think just looking at the overall roster, I think he's head and shoulders the best team in the league.
Yeah, I think only thing that could slow him down is like a few, like multiple injuries. Like if you lost Henry and Kelsey, and then also ETN, then it's like, yeah, still concerned. But then you look at the receiver room and it's like, it's still loaded.
Yeah. The one thing that's going to be the key for Ethan's season, and I think we said this multiple times already, it's how does he change the defense?
Yeah, that's his biggest fear is just, will everybody you play put up 180 points, or if he goes back to just decent luck, could see a double-digit at least win season out of this team.
Absolutely. So that's all we got for power rankings.
First power rankings of the 2023 season.
It's a wild time.
And now let's get into
the matchups. All right, guys, we are back. Matchup previews, first time in a while, and we're gonna change a couple things up a little bit. So, as you know, Sleeper has the projections, which I'm gonna try and leave in the screenshots as we do them, and to make it a little more interesting, instead of having overall record and stuff.
Last year we went 3-3 like every week, and when we were picking all at the same time, we just pick all the same teams.
Yeah. So to spice things up a little bit, what we're gonna do is we're each gonna pick a matchup, and when we pick one of the other person's stuck with that, but the percentage on Sleeper at the time of recording that we pick them, we're going to subtract that score from 100 and then divide it by 10. So, for instance, if I pick a team that has 45% chance to win and they win, I get 4 or 5.5 points.
Yeah.
And vice versa. So, we'll try to show the example here. I did lose last year, so I get first pick.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually going to pick myself versus Cherry as our first one. History, I beat Cherry for the first time in 3 years last year in an absolute barn burner, 91-60. That was a game. I currently am trailing him 54 points in all our matchups. I'm 2-3 against him. My reasoning for picking this one first and also picking myself in this matchup, I know that's usually a curse for me, but I think that there are a lot of guys on my team that their projections are a little bit under. I think there are some guys on Cherry's team where his projections are a little bit over. I think I mentioned in power rankings, Calvin Ridley getting 14 week 1. I'm not so sure. I kind of doubt that a little bit. I also think that Kadarius Toney could get well more than 8 points. Same with Rondale and Zay Flowers. So I'm going to pick myself at the time of recording. I have a 45% chance to win.
So you could get 5.5 points.
5.5 points. And if I don't get it, I get 0. Adam would also get 0. We're only doing the ones that we pick.
Yeah.
We're not going to be like,
yeah.
Yeah. So, what do you think about this matchup?
I think it'll probably be a very close game for sure. Again, as you just on power rankings, these are two of the teams where I was like, you gotta wait and see, and then they're pinned up against each other in the first one. So, I guess we're gonna see. I think I like Cherry a smidge more, just because I think he's got some good matchups. I think like Jean should do really well. I think he's gonna get a ton of work right off the rip. Calvin Ridley going up against Indiana. Wait, what? Indianapolis.
Pretty much Indiana. We got college on the mind.
Yeah, I think that'll be a good matchup. I think both of your tight ends aren't really anything special this week. And then, I mean, Antonio Gibson versus Arizona. I think Arizona's going to be horrible. So I think they could do well. Plus, again, don't love Gabe Davis against the Jets. You might have a big play, but I'm hoping the Jets don't let that happen. And then same thing for Akers against Seattle. Again, just a little bit worried there on the road at Seattle, and I'm a little bit worried about the Rams. But I think it'll be a really close matchup, and I think this will be a great test to kind of see how both of these teams are.
Absolutely, yeah. So now we're going to go over to you. Who are you picking?
I'm going to pick Jasmus and Evan going up against each other,
Okay.
and I'm picking Evan to win.
So how many points would that be?
Evan has 51% chance, so I get 4.9 points.
Okay.
It's Sleeper has this again neck and neck, 49 to 51%. My thing is I'm banking on Cooper Kupp, Terry not being 100% if they're out there playing, and I think Evan's team just has some really good matchups. Houston run defense was horrible last year. I know they got Will Anderson. I don't know how much that's necessarily going to change that. So I think Dobbins could have a field day. Gibbs against the Chiefs could have a field day. I think Waller, they're going to definitely want to get him involved early and often, especially against like a rival like Dallas. I think he could have a huge day. And then I think you just look at the Jasmine side and Najee against San Fran, I don't love. James Conner against Washington, I don't love. I think it'll be a close matchup, but I think I like Evan's side here. And I think Evan and Jasmine, their like history is
Close.
very close.
This is actually if Jasmus was to win, he'd even the series. Or no, they're both 3-3 against each other. Jasmus is down 10 points.
So Jasmine could pull up the win, could take over the record and the point differential against each other. But I have it the other way.
Yeah, I like your reasoning there. I do think that this is another one that can go either way. But I do, if I was picking this one, I would have picked Evan. But I'm also okay getting Jasmus with this one. I have faith on the redemption tour. So the next matchup that I'm going to pick is I'm going to pick a lot left. I'm going to pick Trevor and Zach. Zach is in a considerable hole against Trevor. I believe, as we discussed before, I should have prepped this part of the spreadsheet for it. But Zach is down 200 points to Trevor, although he is 3-5. Not like it's 0 and whatever. Includes a championship win as a championship rematch week 1, and I'm actually going to take Zach in this one.
Taking Zach.
So that would be for 5.3 points. Zach is a 47% chance to win. My reasoning behind that is Christian McCaffrey. He's good. I don't think Cleveland's defense is anything to be scared of for Joe Mixon. We'll have to see how Minnesota does with Mike Evans, if Evans even plays. And there's a lot of questions there regarding Evans and Kittle. I also like Lockett versus the Rams. I don't think their secondary is anything special now that Ramsey's gone. And I can also, again, I'm taking Zach. I was going to see this going Trevor's way as well. He is projected to be the winner. So that's my logic there.
Yeah, I think it's going to be super close. I just think Lamar could, again, go crazy against Houston on Trevor's side, but I think this will be a good old-fashioned shootout to start week 1. Trevor has had a history of having a bad first week, bad start of the year. We'll see if that continues, but this could definitely all come down to a CD on Sunday night.
Yeah, very well could.
For my pick, I'm gonna go with Matt.
Matt against Steve.
Matt against Steve, and I'm taking Matt.
So they've only had one matchup. Obviously, before when it was Nate, they had a few more, but last year Steve did beat Matt 105-69 for a negative 35-point differential in the 2. But you're going with Matt.
Yeah, it's going to get me 4.4 points as he's 56% chance to win. But the reasoning, how often in your life do you get to pick Matt to win? I don't think we ever did last year unless we were forced to.
Yeah.
I want to see Matt go out there. He gets his revenge. This one's personal. He wants to start out the year strong, and I think he could do it. I think both sides have some decent matchups. Like, I think McKinnon against Detroit, not great. Christian Kirk, same thing with whoever I said going up against the Colts. could have a really good week. But then you also, again, Garrett Wilson against the Bills, first game. I think he goes up there. It's at home, scores a touchdown, looks good, and then we'll figure out the rest from there.
Yeah, but so as I said, they've only had one matchup. Negative 35 point differential. Maybe Matt gets his get back from last year in his second ever meeting with Steve.
Yeah.
Maybe a little rivalry as two younger teams.
Two fighting for the bottom.
Yes, fighting for giving me pick one. So that leaves only two matchups left, both kinda blowouts. So I'm gonna take the value. I am going to do something else that I would never do on purpose unless I had to, but I'm gonna take Griffin over James for the. It would be 3.8 points because Griffin is 62% favored. I obviously would have loved to say, hey, I'll go for the 6.2, but I firmly believe that Griffin, like last year, is going to go off week one. Justin Jefferson playing Tampa Bay might go for 50.
Yeah.
Amon-Ra against the Chiefs, probably looking at a 30-pointer there. And also, I do like Mark Andrews versus Houston. As we said, Lamar could go off. And if Lamar goes off, you have to only assume that Andrews gets involved there. So, yeah, I just think out-and-out Griffin is going to win this one.
Yeah, it is big for their history. They're 4-4 against each other. This will be the 9th time they match up. And Griff is up 4.1 points.
So, if this decides how the overall matchups have gone.
Yeah, if James wins, you're assuming it's probably by more than 4.
Wouldn't it be funny if it was like he wins by
3?
4.1?
Yeah. But I do also agree. I think just Griff has a little bit more talent. I do think this is probably going to be closer than Sleeper projects. They have it as like a 23-point difference. I think it'll probably be maybe like a 10-point game, but I do think it should be pretty close.
That's where I kind of disagree with you. I think that Jefferson and Amon-Ra are just going to go off to the point where it's like uncatchable.
Yeah, but that's fair. I don't know. I think James just has guys that are going to get used and are going to get points, and it's like Griff's going to pull out for having a really good week where James is like a solid week, and Griff just has a really, really good week rather than kind of like pulling away. I think it'll be close. But.
All right. I respect your opinion.
And
I think you're wrong.
My last pick, it's going to the me versus Ethan, and Ethan's team is just so good that I'm gonna go with Ethan.
So this is the rubber match between you two. You're both 2-2, but you also haven't beaten Ethan since 2020.
Oh, good. Back when Ethan was
And
tanking all the time.
Ethan, the last 2 times he's beaten you, has dropped exactly 119 points.
Oh,
he is still down 17 points to you.
I haven't broke 80 against him in years.
Yes, but to be fair, you did drop 160 against him the previous 2 times.
I beat him by 82.
82, that's what's really carried this.
So I'm still positive in the points.
Still positive in the points by 17.
That's my goal.
Yep.
To stay positive in the points. My goal is to win.
So, matchup-wise, for point-wise, you're going for 3.6 points. Math.
Yeah.
It exists. I do like Trevor Lawrence versus Indianapolis, along with ETN. Matchup Kelsey versus Detroit. Yeah.
This is just... I think I did this too when I was thinking about my team's future. I looked at this matchup as Ethan, one of the better teams in the league, obviously came in at number 1 on the power rankings. And I looked. My QB versus his QB. Okay, probably his. My RB1 versus his RB1. Okay, maybe mine. And then I went down for like everything, and it was like, oh, Ethan. Oh, maybe. Oh, Ethan. okay, could go either Ethan leg.
Yeah.
And didn't give me a ton of confidence on winning the championship, but it's also before the season, and I also just don't think I'm gonna get off to the hot start I wanted in winning this matchup. But I hope I do. I hope I pull up the upset. That'd be great.
And we are here to drop some news on you in between something.
Yeah, this will be in the show.
This will be in the show.
All right.
We kind of forgot about that.
Okay, so
we also have Ashley. Say hi,
Hello.
Ashley.
Hi, Ashley.
Close enough.
we're gonna start talking trades. So first one, trade I made. I sent DeAndre Swift and a 2024 third for Griff's 2026 first and second.
That is a trade. I like the deal for both sides. I think that you're capitalizing on Swift's value because you're not really sure what's going to be going on in Philadelphia with the running back scenario, but you're also still getting, I think, a decent value for him. The one thing that's concerning, I have seen a lot of social media people be like, oh, avoid DeAndre Swift, which means he's probably going to go off.
Yeah, but then I think everybody's also back in on Swift because he's had some really good camp weeks. This is I thought about this trade for a while, maybe like 5 days when I was sending it out, just debating in my head to do it or not. And it kind of came down to Swift's been so frustrating to own. He looks amazing, and then he just misses a few weeks, and then he comes back, looks amazing, and then they don't give him the ball. He's on a new team now that doesn't throw to the running back a ton, but did they do that because Miles Sanders wasn't great at catching the ball, or just because they don't? I think it's a little bit tough. So I was willing to move on and hope that the difference in him and who else I'm going to play in my flex isn't going to cost me a championship. When he finishes his RB6, I'm going to be really sad. But I don't know. When you look at the Najee trade and the Dobbins trade, it was very similar to kind of what I got here, like a future first, second. Some had some other random pieces into it. Jump scare.
The jump scare. Who's the guest behind the curtain?
Rocky. Just let him be. Oh, there he's hanging. Rocky's climbed the mountain. Yeah, but yeah, when he finishes really good, I'm going to be sad, but I think it was pretty fair value compared to some of the other trades for kind of similar running backs went down, so I guess I'm going to live with it. Like it for Griff, too, though. I think it gives him a lot of RB depth.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's one thing Griffin's kind of been searching for the last couple of years. He made the big trade for Elijah Mitchell and Cam Akers last year, and then they both kind of were phased out of the offense. So yeah. I think this is a guy who has a less likelihood of that happening.
Yeah.
And then we have a pretty big trade from James and Steve. So James received Damian Harris, Isaiah Hodgins, a 2024 second, third, and fourth for Christian Kirk, Rashard Penny, and a 2026 second, and I believe they also swapped thirds at some point.
Yeah.
One of the
yeah, they swapped thirds.
They swapped thirds. So I am very conflicted on this deal. I think it's a little yucky to me.
Oh.
He just following you?
Yeah.
Rockstar, get out.
That's so embarrassing.
Just grab him. Grab the chomp.
Which one, by the way?
Okay. We'll just keep going. It's fine.
He's cool, and he's just a big dingus. What are you doing, you little adventurer?
And he's off. Oh.
Okay. We had a cat break. Anyways, this trade was kind of yucky to me. I don't know how much work Damian Harris is really going to be getting. I guess it does add depth for James. Isaiah Hodgins is also kind of a question mark. Picks are picks. It's cool. With Christian Kirk, part of me is like, hey, Christian Kirk did really good last year, and maybe could have gotten a little bit more value. The other part of me is like, did Steve pay too much for Christian Kirk? In a sense of maybe Ridley takes over in that offense, and Kirk's kind of just a touchdown dependent player kind of thing. Guys. And I mean, Rashard Penny. He's RB what, 3?
Yeah. I really like this trade for Steve. I thought I was a little questioned on the James side of things because I think Penny and Harris are probably pretty close. Of like, Penny's probably got higher upside of just like he's been so good in the past but always hurt. But I think Harris is probably a little bit more likely to get some red zone carries and have a role in the offense. But I think I like Christian Kirk a lot. He had a huge year last year, was a wide receiver 1. Very, very good. Obviously, how's his role going to change with Calvin Ridley still there, Evan Ingram extended? Kind of what's his role going to be? Isaiah Hodgins, there's so many receivers there in the Giants system. I think he does add something that the other 10 slot receivers don't, and that's not being a 5'8" slot receiver. So I guess there's some good there, but then they like swap seconds, swap thirds, and then James just got like kind of a third and a fourth for Kirk, for moving Kirk to Hodgins. I don't know. I think I like it for James. I could be very wrong. I hope that was on camera. There's rocket flying through the air.
Might have been just off camera, I'm not going to lie.
But I don't know. I think I like it. My initial brain was like, Steve definitely won this trade.
Yeah, I feel kind of yucky about it. That's just me. But
And now the blockbuster.
the big one.
Griff got Marvin Jones for 2025 third. Marvin Jones might be like wide receiver 2 there at 100, but this trade doesn't mean much. A depth option in a third.
It was a trade.
It was a trade.
And then our next trade.
The next trade was another one that I made. Me and Trevor, Trevor said he wanted Dawson Knox, so I sent this over. And I sent Trevor Dawson Knox to give him a tight end option, and I got a 4th round pick and Pierre.
Pierre.
So,
Ashley, what are your thoughts about this?
Best trade ever.
who do you think won the trade?
Oh, you. For
Oh.
sure.
Okay.
Why?
You got Pierre.
That's it.
Oh, and you got something else. So it's 2-1, but Pierre on its own would have been good anyways.
Would have been good enough.
Mm-hmm.
So are you saying that wide receiver U doesn't run this league?
No.
Not anymore that they
Not
lost
anymore.
Pierre.
Now that they lost Pierre, yeah, definitely not.
Maybe that might be what sinks Trevor.
Trevor lost a fan.
Yeah. No,
Trevor lost a
I'm
fan.
never gonna pick him to win the game.
Never going to pick him to win the game.
But whatever you call.
But
Well.
yeah, basically, this is kind of just a random trade. I had Knox was my... Well, no.
I mean, this was a trade that Adam really wanted to do for a long time.
Knox was like my tight end, like 4. Probably wasn't going to play over Pitts, Godare, and Jawan Johnson, so I was fine moving him. I still think he does have some value. I've heard that they're going to play him and Kincaid at the same time, but I didn't think I was really going to get much for him. I think if I had him out to everybody, the best I would have got was like a 3rd and a 4th.
Yeah.
Or like have to give him and an early 3rd for a late, like something along the lines of that. So I got Pierre. I do like Pierre. He's in Cleveland now. Ford hasn't got the best reviews as a backup there. They said he's still kind of like learning everything, and then he was hurt with a hamstring too. So maybe Pierre could kind of be the lightning
Starter.
to Nick Chubb's thunder.
Thumber.
Yeah, he could be the starter.
Mm-hmm.
Could be the starter.
If Nick Chubb has his leg amputated, maybe.
And then a 4th is a 4th. I won't see that ever in my life. It's 2026 4th. Doesn't matter.
It
but
doesn't exist.
what else was I really going to get for Knox? Probably not much. So made it happen. Made it happen for Ashley.
Oh, yeah.
She was super excited when she heard. And yeah. So that's...
So you're going to buy Ashley a Pierre Strong jersey?
She wants one.
I do.
And now also him getting traded off the Patriots. She doesn't have to root for the Patriots anymore.
I-
That was a huge win.
Yeah. All right. That wraps up the news. This is definitely in the episode somewhere.
Yep, and we're getting at whatever he's next.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of where we're going to end the show.
Yeah.
But I do like to thank you guys for sticking along with us last year, and we hope to have a great 2023 NFL and Sock League season. We will see you next week.
Football.
It's back.
You didn't put it in here.